We're in full-scale basketball mode here at the University of the District of Columbia, and there's been a lot of action on the hardwood for the Firebirds. Today, on Firebird Nation Sports Update, we'll visit with UDC basketball head coaches Jay Butler and Mike Riley, and we'll recap the start of each team's seasons. We'll also hear about the start of indoor track and field, and follow a really interesting fundraising campaign that the UDC men's lacrosse team participated in. All that and more coming up on Firebird Nation Sports Update, so stay right there. Hello, this is Firebird Nation Sports Update, your inside look at the University of the District of Columbia athletics. I'm your host, Matt Rienzo. Women's basketball is off to a terrific start at 6-1, having just claimed the number 20 spot in the Division II Women's National Poll, their first time in the top 20 in 2 years. Junior transfer guard Talisha Turner leads the East Coast Conference in scoring with over 20 points per game. Meanwhile, junior Danica Brent is near the top in the ECC in rebounding with over 7 per game and scoring with 14 points per game. Senior point guard Tiara Shaw has also been outstanding, ranking 5th in the league in steals with 2 per game. UDC earned a win over St. Thomas Aquinas in its first conference game of the season, and they then followed it up with another huge league win over LIU Post University. After suffering their first loss of the season to Shaw University on December 11th, the women's basketball team looks to the heart of their ECC schedule after the holiday break. Men's basketball has had a very challenging schedule to start the 2013-14 season under first-year head coach Mike Riley. The longtime Georgetown assistant made his Firebird head coaching debut against the reigning NCAA Division II East Region champion Franklin Pierce, then proceeded to play 2 more teams that were receiving votes in the top 25 national poll. UDC has come away with one thrilling victory at home against out-of-region opponent Alderson Broadus. In that game, the Firebirds senior leader, Mike Terry, scored 28 points, including the game-winning free throw, to lift UDC to a 78-77 win over the Battlers. The Firebirds have been plagued by injuries, as 4 of their starters missed the most recent game against LIU Post. Michael Terry is likely out for the year with a shoulder injury, Ziad Ashmawi is out for the year with a foot injury, and Qasim Jones and Dean Moore have both missed several games. In the absence of 4 potential starters, likely starters, junior transfer Lenjo Kilo has carried much of the scoring load. Kilo averages close to a double-double with 19 points and 9.4 rebounds per game. He's coming off a beastly game versus Bowie State, where he scored 32 points and grabbed 17 rebounds. But the Firebirds unfortunately still fell to their crosstown rivals, 98-75. The men's squad lost their first 2 ECC games against St. Thomas Aquinas and LIU Post, but they'll resume conference play in the new year. Hopefully they can get some of their players back healthy soon. The Firebirds indoor track and field team appears to be in mid-season form after several strong performances to open the season at the Christopher Newport University Holiday Open on December 7th in Newport News, Virginia. Senior Katie Jones highlighted the day's competition with an NCAA provisional distance of 5.61 meters in the finals of the long jump event, which ranks 4th in the country among all Division II athletes. Also, freshman Charmaine Sweeney had an impressive collegiate debut as she won Heat 6 in the 400 meter with a personal best of 60.8. UDC looks as though it will also continue the tradition of being a power in the 4x400 meter relay event, as the Firebirds had 2 separate relay teams compete, and they placed 5th and 7th respectively out of 21 relay teams. UDC will return to the track in the new year on January 11th at George Mason University. Now, the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, or SAC, led by President Rocky Hernandez and event chairperson Lewis Connor, raised 182 pounds of canned food during this year's SAC Fights Hunger event. It was delivered to Martha's Table, a DC nonprofit organization that works to build a better future through healthy food, affordable clothing, and quality education. The 182 pounds shattered not only the mark of 88 pounds set last year, but also this year's goal of 100 pounds. Great work, SAC Committee. The University of the District of Columbia men's lacrosse team raised $520 during its Mustache November or Movember event. All 22 student athletes on the team, including head coach Scott Urich and athletic trainer Michael Humbrecht, all grew out their facial hair to raise funds and awareness to combat prostate and testicular cancer and men's mental health challenges. The effort was spearheaded by junior men's lacrosse player Ben Taylor, who signed the team up with the official global charity Movember. Through this charity, men are encouraged to grow a mustache for 30 days of November, asking friends and family to donate to their efforts along the way. Nice work there by the UDC men's lacrosse team. We're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll visit with our first guest, UDC women's basketball coach Jay Butler. So stay right there. We'd now like to welcome Firebird head women's basketball coach Jay Butler. Coach, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Now, Coach, we had you on the show recently, and we went over the upcoming season. We're now several games into the year. You recently were ranked number 20 in the country. Suffered a loss, unfortunately, last night to Shaw. But give us your thoughts on the season thus far.
So far, I think we definitely been a surprise within our conference in the ECC. Talisha Turner, newcomer transfer, is currently averaging 20 points. We had a big win early in the season against a Holy Family team that was ranked number 12 in the country. And I think that's when around the country, teams started to look at UDC as a possible top 25 team. And we were blessed to get into the top 20 this past week.
And that's a great thing. Last time you were in the top 20 was a couple years ago. You have a 6-1 record now. You mentioned maybe a little bit of a surprise. Are you surprised by this start? It's a great start.
Oh, it was definitely a great start. We set goals at the beginning of the year, and we definitely wanted to be undefeated at home and possibly in the top half of the ECC. And I told the young ladies, just take it one game at a time and just try to build that chemistry and build the wins up. And then eventually we'll get the recognition. And then right now, it's early in the year, and to be top 20 in the country, that's big for the program.
That's a big thing for your program. It's a big thing for the university and for our athletic department to have one of our programs in the top 20. And the team that you lost to last night was ranked 23rd, and obviously they're a perennial team as well. So
right.
A lot of basketball left. Last time we talked about personnel, it was still very early, and there were some unknown quantities, I guess. But there are the returners who are known quantities, Danica Brent and Tiara Shaw and some others. But now we've had a chance to see some of the newcomers, and you mentioned one of them. There's some good players that just joined the squad this year, aren't there?
Oh, it definitely is. It's a key when you can go in and recruit Talisha Turner, and she can come in and average 20 points right away. And we play a up-tempo style. We got a lot of offensive plays. We get up and down, and for her to come in and just feel comfortable with the offense. And currently, she's number 1 in the conference, averaging 20 points a game. And then you also got a young lady from DC, Shakina Williams, who's she's actually shooting around 47% from the three-point line. So just those two key players that's coming in. And then we got a few bench players that's coming in that's really playing key roles. And then just the returners, Tiara Shaw, she's leading the team. She's our leader, and she's our floor general, and she's playing well right now.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about Talisha Turner before we move on. She's a great player, tons of energy all over the court. How did you find her? Where did she come from?
We actually got an email on her. We got an email on her that says a kid that can score the basketball, and I passed it on to my assistant coach, and Coach Burrows. And he followed up on it. We went out and watched her play, and the first game we saw her, she put up 39 points. She can flat out score the basketball. She's a great shooter.
Is she playing point guard for you or two guard?
She plays the 2 because she can score the ball so well, but she can play the 1 and the 2, got a great IQ for the game. Just a great team player, wants to win, got a great attitude, and she's been a blessing for us this year.
Well, that's great, and I think someone else who's really been blessed by her being here is Danica Brent. She seems to really be feeding off the fact that she isn't the person that has to score all the time. There's another threat that other teams have to focus on. Does that seem to be the case to you, that she's kind of really thriving,
Right.
having a great scorer along with her.
That's definitely the key. With Talisha coming in, Danica, it just take a lot of pressure off of us. Last year, Danica had to do a lot for us. She had to score the basketball, she had to rebound, she had to play the point on the press. This year, she can sit back and she can just pick her spots and score the basketball. She's probably one of the best athletes in the conference and probably in the country. So right now, she can just go out and play her game and just have fun with. You got a young lady like Talisha that can go for 20, 25 points a night.
It seems like she's really able to just kind of sit back and play off of the other players more than having to force it, maybe like she had to last year.
Yeah, last year we asked her to do a lot, and then this year she can just sit back, pick her spots. She can play inside and outside, so she's definitely a matchup problem for most teams.
Well, that's great, and she's averaging 14 points a game and 7 rebounds, so she's sort of towards the top in the East Coast Conference
Right,
in both categories.
Definitely, we're just trying to keep her confidence up, keep her consistent. If she can make it through the entire season, I think she's probably going to be a first-team performer.
Great. Now another player, and then we'll move on to a couple other things. Another player that's really caught my eye, kind of an unsung hero of sorts, is Tatiana Calhoun. She's averaging 11 points a game, 8 rebounds. Tell us about her play this year thus far.
Tatiana, that's one of my favorites. She's the blue collar. She's the workaholic. She come in practice. She's going to give you 100% every day. And just a great kid, unbelievable rebounder. And when you have her in the paint, you know that you're going to get 100% effort. She's going to give you all that she got. And right now, she's close to a double-double, and she wants to get better. You know, as a sophomore, she was an all-rookie team last year as a freshman. And one of her goals this year, she said she want to be all-conference. So I think she definitely has an opportunity to do that.
Well, she's doing a great job, and it just seems from last year to this year, her jump has been dramatic in terms of just she's playing big.
Yeah, she definitely is. I just think the conditioning and the weight room has helped her a lot. She's just a better athlete now. She's better conditioning. And right now, she's on pace to be one of the top post players in the conference.
That's great, and certainly the maturity, the extra year that comes probably doesn't hurt either. So now let's switch over to the team overall. You're 2-0 in the conference. You're on top of the league standings. I know it's only 2 games into the league schedule, but you've got the meat of your ECC schedule coming up. What are your thoughts on league play coming up?
Right now, we're 2-0. We had a big win against St. Thomas Aquinas. We were basically winless at St. Thomas. It's a tough place to play. So to get our first win on the road was key. And then LIU Post was predicted to finish first in the conference. We got them at home. We beat them by 10. So to get a 2-0 at the beginning of the year, but it still got a long way to go, but it's a good start to the season.
And there's a couple more games before the winter break, and then the meat of the ECC schedule is in the new year.
Right. We got Mercy coming up on the 14th and New York Tech in the semester.
And what does the rest of the conference look like at this early juncture? And any other teams that maybe are surprises, like people might be viewing the Firebirds?
Yeah, my surprise team would probably be Queens. Queens is solid. Got a couple of Division I transfers. They got a couple big post players that add a presence inside, and they got some pretty good guard play. So if I had to just pick a team, I would say Queens would be a surprise team. Dowling made it to the national championship, so they're always going to be tough. Right now they're struggling a little bit. But I just think it's going to be night in, night out. It's going to be tough in the ECC.
I'm sure a team that made it to the national championship, struggling is all relative, what they're dealing with compared to other teams, and I'm sure they're doing all right.
Exactly.
Yeah, so now we've talked about it before. You guys, you love to play an up-tempo style. You like to press, a lot of defense, try and get a lot of transition. How is that going? Is that fitting into your game plan this year?
It was going well up to last night. We pretty much, we lay our hats on playing defense, and we like to press. And last night we struggled offensively, so we couldn't put the ball in the basket to get into our press. But right now, our number one thing is getting into our full court pressure, and when we drop back to half court, we're trying to trap out of it. But defense is the key, and then last night, just rebounding. Rebounding hurt us. I think Shaw had 50 rebounds to 32.
Well, it didn't hurt that they had one player that was 6'6", who
yes.
did a heck of a job as well. So
right, she's a pretty good ball player.
She was indeed. Now let's get back to kind of the full court mentality. Your team averages 10 steals a game, which is very good. Has the 10-second count? There's the new 10-second count in the backcourt. in women's basketball. Has that really come into play for you, or not as much?
Not as I expected. I think one thing we do, we force teams to play a little faster. And I think they realize that the 10-second count is there, and they need to get the ball over. So they kind of
maybe create some panic.
Right. So they tend to force the ball and kind of making turnovers. But actually, to get the 10-second violation, we haven't getting a lot. But we're looking forward to just continue to work on it in practice and get a little better. We got a lot of new players just trying to figure out the defensive schemes that we run.
Now, we talked a little bit last night. Shaw had a player, Verdine Warner, who was 6'4", 6'5". She looked like she was 6'6" out there. Yeah. She was a real force last night. Shots weren't going in for the Firebirds. What do you do as a coach on a night like that when just nothing is going in? How do you approach that?
We just kept trying to plug away and say, hey, let's get it done on the defensive end and try to get out and run and get a couple easy layups. Anytime you can get to the foul line, get a steal, try to just build confidence. And last night we just couldn't buy a basket. And the young ladies, they were a little frustrated. They were excited. They had a nice crowd in the stands. And, situation where you got a number 20 ranked team playing against a number 23, it was a big game for us. And I just think Shaw University traditionally has been one of the top teams in the country over the years. And then for us, it's 1 year in, we're in the top 25, 1 year off. And I think we need to build to that where each and every year we're a top 25 team.
And that's a good segue to my last question. When you reach the top 20, when teams get into that elite level, sometimes do you see that there's a letdown of some sort? You think you're better than maybe you are because you got that ranking. Is that something that might come into play sometimes?
It always. Even myself as a player, you get into that top 20 and then you kind of feel like, you can't be beat. And I saw it in practice, and we talked about it after practice. I tell them preparation. We got to continue. Don't never get too high. Don't never get too low. And it was a mixture. We had the finals going on right now. So it was a combination of the finals, being in the top 25, excited to go home for Christmas.
And sometimes you just have an off night.
Yeah, and it definitely was an off night.
Well, good thing is it wasn't a league game, and you got plenty of those coming up, and I know the goal is to win the league and to get to the tournament. So all of that is right there for you. You're off to a great start at 6-1. So congratulations on the great start, and I'm sure you'll rebound this weekend with the win. So thanks very much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
When we return, we'll visit with the head men's basketball coach for the University of the District of Columbia, Mike Riley. We're now joined by UDC head men's basketball coach, Mike Riley. Coach Riley, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Matt, for having me.
Coach, it's your first year at UDC coaching men's basketball. It's been a tough beginning of the season. You're sitting at 1-6 right now. Your team's been decimated by injuries, to put it mildly, but you've also had a tough schedule. Given all those factors, tell us what your thoughts are on the start of the season.
Well, you don't plan for injuries, and we certainly didn't plan for them. And we had several guys, actually, 4 of our starting 5 went down to some injury. One of them is trying to come back. Dean Moore is in the process. I think he played 10 minutes the last 2 games. But, it's next man up. I don't want to use that as an excuse. I know it's reality that we are hurt. I know that we have some other people that may not be experienced as those guys that went down, because all the people that went down actually played a lot last year. And we were counting on those guys. But we don't have them now. Matter of fact, a couple of them will not be back. We know that for a fact. And so with that, we try to work as hard as we can with the people that we have and say, come on, listen, this is what we can do with what we have, and we try to do that. So as long as we stay competitive, I feel good about it. We've had some games where we let them slip away. We've had some games that we played well in the first half and then, kind of got blown out in the second half. But the guys are working hard. And I got to give them credit for that.
Well, certainly we know that you're coaching your butt off because your voice is very hoarse.
Yeah, we're doing this show right after the game last night, and so that it takes a toll. We played at Bowie State last night, and Bowie State does this thing where they put the band right next to the opposing bench. So when the timeout is and you want to talk to the guys, that's when the band plays.
Well, I'm sure Bowie State's going to love to watch this show and see the credit that they get for that move. Right. Now, we talked a little bit about in the opening segment before you came on about the injuries. So just review quickly. Mike Terry, he's out. He's one of the best players. Ziad Ashmawi's out probably for the year. Both of those guys, most likely.
Out for the year.
Qasim Jones has been in and out of the lineup for various reasons. And
Qasim has had some health issues also, and he'll be out, and he has to get evaluated before he can come back.
And then Dean Moore, as we mentioned before, he's been out a while as well. So
Correct.
Those are 4 starters.
Right.
You mentioned the next man up mentality, which I know is what coaches have to say, but
Talk
how do
about
you
it.
deal with that? I mean,
it's tough because you're playing people out of position, and that's where the big problem is. You know, you're playing and you're really being unfair. Got a kid that's a walk-on, Prince Ritson, and I asked him to come here and help out, and I saw him as a guy that would play 10 minutes or so, and I got him playing 37 minutes last night.
As a point guard, right?
As a point guard, and he's probably a combination shooting guard, small forward, and I've got Kevin Campbell that's probably a shooting guard, and I've got him playing point guard, and I'm fussing at those guys, and I had to bring him in my office and tell him to say, listen, when I'm fussing at you, the point guard, not you, the person. I said, I really like you, the person, but I don't have the luxury of not fussing at you. I got to fuss at you, the point guard, and so that's what I've been doing, trying to push him. And, you know, in the long run, if everything works out and they become better at that craft, then we become a better team in the long run. But for right now, it's a struggle.
And they certainly become more versatile players, too, down the road.
And down the road.
Now let's talk about some of the other guys. You mentioned Prince Ritson. Talk about some of the other guys who are stepping up their game in the absence of those 4 starters.
Well, Clenzo Brandon, we've got several guys that are walk-ons. You know, those are guys that we didn't really recruit, and they really are playing a lot of minutes for us and have to play a lot of minutes for us. But we've got Omar Abbas that played last year, but he's a walk-on. We got Reggie Sidbury that went to Flowers here locally. He's playing a lot of minutes. And then we have Tim Frazier that, Tim was not even thinking about playing basketball really, but he plays it all the time. He likes to play it. And I put him in the last couple of games. He's given us something. He's given us a lift. And these guys are really working their heart out.
Tim looks to be giving some effort and some enthusiasm. He's playing hard.
Yeah, he's playing really hard, and I appreciate that. They were really brought on to help out with practice and things like that, but now they're being called on to play.
Now, one person we haven't mentioned yet who's really kind of taken over in the absence of some others is Linjo Kilo.
Right.
He scored 32 points or so last night, had 17
rebounds.
boards against Bowie State.
Right.
Talk about his game.
Well, his game is evolving. Linjo, came here as a transfer last year, and he came here because of the fact that he wanted to expand his game. He wanted to get out of the post. Where he was, they were just posting him up. And after I got an opportunity to see him, I said, we can expand your game. And he's trying to find himself, and I think that once the other guys get more confident in him and what he can do, and he the same, get more confident in himself, I think his game will continue. But you can't duplicate what you did, Matt. We can't next game, he can't think, I'm going to get 30, or somebody else think that he's going to get 30. He's just got to wait and let the game come to him. But he did a great job the other night of getting out and scoring and rebounding. I mean, 17 boards, that's pretty incredible.
That is. That's just a fantastic effort. And, you've done a great job of recruiting. You mentioned a lot of walk-ons.
Yeah.
Students who were on campus. You came late in the summer. You didn't have the time to recruit anybody.
Right.
So you had to piece together really a team with a lot of walk-ons. And you've done a great job of pulling some guys like Tim Frazier and some others, but then also getting a lot of DC kids as well.
Right. These kids were not intended on playing as many minutes as I had intended on playing. Maybe some spot playing, 10 minutes here, maybe 12 minutes there, but I just, to be playing them as many minutes as they're playing now, in some ways, it's really, it's an opportunity. It's a great opportunity for them, but in some ways it's unfair.
Well, it's obviously frustrating to not be winning as many games as you collectively want to, but for them, what an unbelievable opportunity to get to play more and get a lot of experience and really improve.
Here's your opportunity. This is what you dreamed about. Here it is. And so they have to become better, and that's what we've been doing. And I've been trying to be patient because you can't get it all at one time. We may not be as good as we want to be right now. But maybe after the Christmas break, we come back. We'll get some practice in while school is not in, and their minds right now they're caught up in the finals and they're doing finals. And so I've been there. You've been there, whereas you kind of split. I got to go, coach. You're at practice, but you're thinking, I got to go study. I got this exam coming up, but we'll get a few days when exam is over with, to where we can just practice, and it's just all basketball. And so maybe we can get better a little bit during that time.
And your focus obviously is on this year and doing the best job that you can, but certainly down the road too. I mean, there's no doubt you're going to build a great program here at UDC.
That's the plan.
So these guys are all going to benefit from the experience and the playing time.
That's the plan. So we'll see.
I'm sure it'll work out.
Right.
Now, how's the mentality of the team at this early juncture? Sitting at 1-6 and playing hard and
Right.
being competitive.
Right.
How are they dealing with it after the game or on the bus rides home? What's their mentality?
Well, and that's my job, to make sure that we don't get used to losing and we're happy about it, but at the same time keep the spirits up, and to talk about this is what the things. When I talked to them today, we had practice today. And a couple of things I talked about was that, okay, these are some of the things that we did well. As opposed to just talking about the negative things, I talked about a combination. I said, listen, this is a way that we can do this a little bit better. So, using my little bit of psychology of trying to, tell them these are the things that we did wrong, but instead of saying these are the things we did wrong, these are the things that we could do better. Press offense, and I don't want to give a scouting report on us, but we could improve doing press offense when teams are pressing us, and we could do some things a little bit better with that. And we're going to make some changes with that, and so we'll see what happens with that. But I think that when you're talking to them, you want to make sure that they understand that, hey, we're still in the fight. We gotta fight. We got some more fights to go, and we got fight left in us, and let's continue to do that. And so I think they still feel pretty good about themselves. They realize that they're improving.
Well, that's great. And like I said, they're competitive and they're working hard, and they seem to be playing hard. So I'm sure you're happy about that. Now, we're only 2 ECC games into the season. Right. It's a very difficult conference for basketball. Right. What are your thoughts on the conference? Who looks to be kind of the horse at this early stage? Well,
CW Post or LIU Post is pretty good. They have a very, very good team. NYIT will press. Mercy is coming in here on Saturday. They, unfortunately, are similar to us. They do not have a very good record, but in watching the tape of them, they play hard. They're similar to us, that they seem to be playing hard. It's just the chips haven't fallen their way, and they haven't won games. But if I had to say right now, I know Bridgeport is pretty good. It's a good conference, to play in. Very competitive, good players. It's a perimeter-oriented conference, but some post players get after it also.
Well, good. Well, obviously the theme seems to be that your team is competitive, and I'm sure they're going to keep that going into conference play. And we wish you the best of luck with the real meat of the conference schedule here coming up. So thanks very much for being on the show.
No problem, Matt. Thank you.
That's all the time we have today. I'd like to thank our guests, the Firebirds head basketball coaches Mike Riley and Jay Butler. Please don't forget to follow Firebird Athletics at udcfirebirds.com, on Twitter at UDCFirebirdFans, and on Facebook at UDC Athletics. Thanks for watching Firebird Nation Sports Update. I'm your host, Matt Rienzo. The Firebird is rising in the nation's capital, and we're glad you're along for the ride.